And if we go over time,
Wait, hold on.
Uh-oh.
Where's the intro? Oh God, what happened?
Hey everybody, welcome back to the pullboxpals. This is our 43rd episode.
My goodness.
That is a prime number.
Is it?
It
I
is.
didn't know that.
Yeah.
Wow. Do you think in prime numbers?
No, I just find them very interesting. I'm gonna my next year of life is my 37th year, and that's a prime number too. So I'll be in my prime for the next year, I guess.
Wow.
Yeah.
What intro, what a joke to start us off with. What's your name, by the way?
Oh, so my name, I go by Mad Nerdy, and this is my pal over here, Monk. You may know him as that Monk guy on Instagram. And
world famous.
World famous. Everybody loves you, man. Everybody loves you.
Well, thank you very much. I do what I can, but I always, whenever people have told me that before, but whenever I mean, it's a great compliment to like have, you know.
Yeah.
But I always think of a quote, and I can't remember who it's by, but it's like, if you don't have any enemies, you're like a fake person. I'm like, oh, I need some enemies. I don't want to be a fake person. But I also like, I'm not out to hurt anybody. You know, that's kind of like my MO is like, I have nothing to gain from hurting anybody, you know.
I know. So, I'm not trying to hurt people.
No, I'm not trying to bum anybody out. Sometimes you got to bum people out, like, but
sometimes you do. And but that's usually like, you know, hopefully you're delivering a hard truth.
Or from a place of love, right?
Yeah.
Wow.
Anyways,
that was into it right at the beginning.
All because of the number 43.
Wow. There is meaning to the universe.
How you doing over there?
Mark, I'm feeling a little bit like overwhelmed, if I'm being honest.
Is it because you read so many comics this week?
I read so many comics this week, and I bought so many comics this week. So I'm looking at a hefty stack here that is making me feel like I'm gonna have a busy weekend, which is fine, because if it's
your Sunday's looking real ripe.
Yeah. Oh yeah. We'll get to that. But yeah, I mean, if it's anything like the past 2 weeks that I've had, like it's like, it's almost one of those, like, you know how at like a baseball game when it's a no-hitter, you're not supposed to talk about it. That's kind of how I feel. And like, I feel like I'm gonna jinx it if I talk about like how good like the past couple of weeks have been.
Yeah.
So I don't know how you feeling. I think you said that you were. Oh no, that might have been backstage. But how you feeling about your comics this week?
Yeah, pretty good, man. I feel like I got a good amount in. I even kind of dug into my like need to read stack a little bit.
Oh, look at you.
Yeah, and I also was able to organize all of the comics that I had yet to organize, and so I've had a good week in terms of organizing my life and comic in the world of comic books.
So like, I am terrible at that. I've been talking about it for the past couple of weeks about this ever-growing stack that I have, and I just literally feel like I've just bought a whole nother pile to put next to all my other piles, you know. Like the other couple piles have been grown over a couple of weeks. This one I just like dumped a whole pile just in 1 week. But I keep teasing this giant pool that I got.
No, let's keep talking about how many comics we have stored and how many are stacking up. If you need a long box, man, I just actually freed up a long box. So I'll just ship that all across the states to you.
Not like I can't just run down this like to, you know, a couple miles away and buy one.
Can I get a drone that goes that far?
There you go. Yeah, I have a drone. It goes and picks up long boxes for me
from Oregon.
Yeah, I've never
Right
tried
on.
to make a cross-country trip with it.
Well,
My goodness.
speaking of things that are long, let's talk about your list.
Oh my goodness, let's get into this. So if you are watching the video version, I'm going to show you almost here. Let's get to
Would
where
you
we
say
are.
this is a Pullbox Pals record for you and comics you're
Absolutely.
about to show?
The amount of comics that I have got today I probably haven't gotten, well, I mean, because there was that time I bought 50 comics in one day because they were a
Right.
quarter each. So like there's times that I've done outlandish things before, but this feels like I've committed a cardinal sin of gluttony. But what are you gonna do? I love a good religious joke. I don't think other people do. But maybe they do in Where Monsters Lie #3. I'm not really going to say anything because I've said at least 1 and 2 issues worth of things about this, but a fun little story about a community of psycho killers. Psycho killer.
Ba, 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 ba,
What song is that?
ba, ba.
I guess maybe it's called Psycho Killer.
Yeah, I can't. What's escaping me is the artist.
Well, that's right. Yeah, that's what we're trying to figure out. But I haven't posted my pool video yet for today, so I would imagine that that's going to be the song that I use. But in the meantime, I also got I Hate This Place #7. Yeah, issue #7.
Man, I can't believe it's on its 7th issue.
Well, that's kind of how I feel about Bloodstained Teeth. When I saw in our notes that it was #10, I'm like, my gosh, it feels like it's just plowing through it.
Yeah.
But
yeah, we'll get there.
We'll
get to where Bloodstained Teeth is at.
And it's on the shelf behind you.
Oh yeah.
And you also would have gotten this guy, right?
Yeah, I got it. Let me I think we had the same cover.
Yeah. It's a good one.
It's a good one.
I feel like it's been a minute since this came out.
Really? I feel like the third one didn't come out that long ago, to be honest.
I thought this was the third one.
Or what? No, this is the fourth one.
Wow. What time?
No, I've liked this series more and more as it's gone on.
Agreed. Same.
So,
and we're going to be talking about something else by Mark Millar in a bit. So
yeah,
that's exciting.
Look
at Mark Miller coming back into the zeitgeist.
He's a hot topic right now.
At least on the Pullbox Pals,
he is. On the Pullbox Pals, yeah.
Wow. Maybe one day he'll be on the Pullbox Pals, and I'll say Kick-Ass was really good. I really enjoyed Kick-Ass. But I feel like I should. Yeah, okay, that's not the one that I want to. Oh my goodness, I'm thinking out loud. So this comic came out last week, but I wanted to pick it up today because the fine fellows who wrote this comic actually followed us on Instagram after we posted about Rock and Roll Hell, Pop Scars.
Oh man, I really wanted to get that one. Is that is that a one shot as well?
I don't know. I don't think it is because I was looking at it. It seemed like a series. Let me look at the end. I'll do a little sneaky poo at the back and see if it has a definitive ending. It might. No, it says #2. #2's coming.
Number two's always
#2's coming. Oh no. Yeah. We made a poop joke. But maybe this comic will have a poop joke in it because it's about a cat. It's called Hairball. And I got this cover because I think it's absolutely beautiful.
I was holding that one in my hands at my LCS today. And I even walked up to the counter with it. And then I sat there for a minute and I was just like, I know that I really want to get this, but do I really need it?
Right.
And
that's fair.
And and this year I'm working on letting go of single issues and trying to focus more on waiting for those trades to come out.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, it's all a part of my process of getting more selective on what I'm buying week to week.
Yeah.
So
that's probably a good call. I just wanted to point out, I think this art is fantastic. I love when a comic is printed on black. Big fan of that.
Another one too that came out last week that you and seems all of our pals picked up was Indigo Children.
Yeah. Was that all black? I don't even know if I noticed that.
Yeah, I think our pals over at the Comic Book Lair posted about it. I think Ross posted about it. Frank Coffee and a Comic posted about it.
Yeah, I
Like
mean,
the
I was
everybody,
planning on
every
chatting about it.
you
Whoa.
posted about it, didn't you?
I really don't
Yeah,
remember.
but
Yeah, but I will chat about it later. It'll probably be one of the ones that I shout out. But yeah, okay, buddy. Are you
we'll
so
get to it.
this is the last comic that I picked up at my comic shop today. Um it is it's kind of got an interesting title. It's The Shepherd, the Tether.
Yeah,
That's it's just an interesting subtitle, and I'm not sure if this is like a follow-up to something, because that sounds like a sequel.
I think it might be. I think it's the shepherd, and then or maybe it might be the tether, and then it's the shepherd, the tether, or it's like the tethers, I can't remember.
Anyways, it's from Scout, and so I was at my comic book shop and I was like, hey, I need to get something from Scout because I gotta have something to read on Scout Comic Sunday. But did I forget that on Saturday I was checking out or no, actually no, it was, I can't remember, it was last Thursday after last week's episode. So you brought up Granite State Punk,
Mm-hmm.
and
Yeah,
so I was on their website and I was like, hey, I'm going to pick that up. But I'm like, I don't feel like just paying for shipping just for one comic, So I'm like, I'm
yeah,
going to pick some up. And then when I was browsing, one of those ads popped up that was like, hey, if you sign up for our newsletter or our like our subscription or our notification service, where you can get 15% off this order. And I'm like, hot damn, I'm in. So I stacked up a bunch of stuff. And also, I just got a text from him today being like, hey, you want 50% off your next order? So I'm like, absolutely. Uh, I
yes.
imagine I'm going to be spending the same amount of money and then coming back here in like 2 weeks and being like, what have I done? But I didn't even, I mean, it's making it sounds like it just a lot with the 7 comics that I pulled. But I got a shipment from Scout Comics of really dope comics.
Yeah, you got some good stuff in there, man.
I
Like,
did. One being Granite State Punk. I'll keep wanting to say Granite Skate Punk.
I mean, well, and I was planning on talking about this one today. Do you want me to wait?
No, we'll get there.
Okay.
When you get there, we'll talk about
Okay.
it. But I picked up maybe my 3rd copy of Rad Wraith #1. This is going directly on my wall. I'm pretty sure it's definitely my 2nd copy that I've bought. I have no idea where my first one is, and I think when I bought issue #2, I also bought issue #1 again, almost certainly. So I think this might be the 3rd time I've bought that comic, which is fine because I love it.
Yeah.
And if it makes it come out sooner, then maybe that's
Well,
how
and
everyone should have got Berserker out sooner, or The Last Ronin. You just keep buying the same
hey, you
comics.
know what? You know what this makes me realize? You got so many Scout comics this week, and I didn't get any.
Oh no.
But in my to read pile.
In his to read pile, he says, there you go.
So
Maybe it's time. Maybe it's time for you to get
I think this
teeth
is my
stuck in.
Scout comic Sunday.
For those of you who are listening, he held up his copy of Rad Wraith.
Yeah.
I am so scared that I'm going to lose this. Like, I almost want to put it up on the wall now, but I also don't want you guys to see the PJs that I'm wearing.
PJs.
They're Ant-Man PJs.
Because it's almost bedtime. It's almost bedtime for that monk guy.
But it's almost bedtime in Russia as well. It's actually probably in the middle of the night. I don't know. But Red Winter, and this is based off of your review and suggestion.
And this is volume 1, so this is following Eli.
Yep, good old Eli.
Winter. And man, yeah, I'm excited for you to read that.
Yeah, me too. I'll report back on it probably. If I'm being honest, it's probably at the bottom of this to read pile, minus Rad Wraith. But yeah, I'm very curious about this one because I really like kaijus, but I don't like a lot of the stuff that like is traditional kaijus. So I'll take a fun, interesting take on. This is called King Jirah, Hungry Like a Monster, and this is a one shot. So
nice.
I don't know if I'm going to be able to say this later, but I'm going to say it now. Dude, give me one shots. I love one shots.
Oh, yeah.
Even if it's something similar to this, Gut Ghost Volume 0, which is kind of cool. This is, I'm pretty sure, just like a collection of unrelated stories. Maybe there's a follow through. I'll have to see. But like, and either way, I just love whatever it is. Yeah. So I got so many comics this week. I'm gonna be talking about comics for forever.
For
So
days.
hopefully I'm posting a bunch
I'm
on
actually,
Instagram.
just so everybody knows, I'm not going to be here next week. Monk is just going to be here by himself talking about everything he read this week.
I'm
So
just gonna have a solo Scout Comics episode. My boy.
it's just going to be called Pullbox Pal next week.
It's me. Oh boy. All right. Well, hey, I'm gonna shut up for a while now. How about you? How about you talk
Well,
about
my
now?
yeah, so my list is actually quite small in comparison to yours this week, which
Oof.
is one thing I got. I don't know if it's in the camera. I don't want to necessarily pull it off my shelf, but Dream Master arrived for me. So if you follow me on Instagram, you saw already I posted the unboxing of that. Dream
Right.
Master #4. This is written by our pal Jonathan Hedrick for Black Box Comics. He's been out touring for that. He just finished up at, I think, MegaCon,
That's dope.
and he's going to be at the Philly Fan Expo soon.
All right. You texted me
So,
about that. Do you
yeah,
know do you remember what time or what day that is?
no, I didn't. I mean, he just told me that those were one of his next two things coming up, and that's when I was
Nice.
like, "Hey, are you closer to Philly or Pittsburgh?" Because I couldn't remember.
Yep.
And
I'm about
my
2 hours
my
outside of Philly, and the second that I hit Philly, I realized that I'm like a country bumpkin because this the second that like we get like bumper to bumper traffic and like
there's
three
all these
lanes,
streetlights in this city.
I'm just like, oh, there's so many cars. Where did they all come from? They're going so
I'm just
fast, and then we're so slow. Oh.
Just used to that one flashy red light in the middle of town.
Yeah, and I usually just drive right through it. um, but yeah,
Yeah.
what else did you get, buddy?
So yeah, Dream
Ow.
Master #4, loved it. I really like where that series is going.
My shop
So
didn't get it, so I'm unfortunately behind on it now. That's a bummer. I
yeah,
do enjoy it, so yeah, I'm
yeah.
genuinely upset.
I'm
I
I'm
would
sure
have been
I'm
on my
sure
pile.
you'll get your hands on it at some point. It
Oh,
just, shipping lately with some of these smaller things has been a little more difficult, it seems.
yeah.
So my one and only Star Wars and Marvel for this week is Hidden Empire #5. And so I'm a little behind on this one. I got a few to catch up with because I've been kind of waiting for the story to round out. But this follows Kira from the Solo.
Right. Yeah, I remember you talking about this
Yeah.
prior.
But like, look at this cover here. You got Vader, you got her up top, you got Vader in the middle, and you got Palpatine down on the bottom. So it's just, what's going on in the world?
What more could you ask for? You got
What?
several
Yeah.
generations of Star Wars. You got stuff that's from the movies, stuff that's from the comics.
Yeah.
It's the best of Star Wars.
Next up, I got issue #5 of Samurai Doggy. I feel like #4 didn't come out too long ago because I feel like I reviewed it like 2 weeks ago.
Yeah, I
Um,
vaguely remember that being around too.
but yeah, this one's really kind of picked up in the story, just with like pacing. And I really enjoyed #4, so I'm hoping #5's just as good, if not better. And
Nice.
then I also got my Batman 134.
Oh, yeah, I
With,
fell off that hard. How's that going?
um, I'm not hating it.
No,
But it's
I
just
mean that doesn't sound like hype. It's a Batman comic,
it's
and you
Batman,
love
and
Batman.
I do love Batman, and I want to stay current with Batman. I've decided because I probably have collected more Batman comics in my life than anything else, and
Yeah,
I might as well just keep that going.
yeah.
And last but not least, this is the only #1 that I got, and this is cover B, I believe, of from Volt. Well, it's Nightfall Presents, but it's Volt Comics, the Nasty #1.
Oh,
Yeah.
I did see that at my comic shop, and I think I made like a similar voice, but I just didn't want to go in on another #1. I felt like I had too many #1s already. But
I'm starting to implement like not picking up. Well, I have to plan these out, but like making sure that I'm picking up a #1 when a series is ending.
mm,
And something ended last week that I'll be talking about.
Oh boy.
later. So this is my new number one to replace. Hopefully something else that I've enjoyed. So
That's actually a good way of doing that.
yeah, it's really hard to plan that out though, because sometimes like
That
I'm
sounds like it would
terrible
be.
at knowing when the last issue of something is.
Okay. Yeah.
But this one just worked
And
out.
it's so hard to predict, again, like with shipping, and like sources aren't always accurate. So, sometimes you just got to know when to fold them.
Yeah.
Know when to hold them, know
When
when to
to
walk away,
when yeah, when to
when
walk
to
away, when to
when to
set it
be
down, when to walk
set it
up to
down.
the counter, when to walk up to the counter with it, and then turn around and take it back to the stack of new comics and say, "Not today. This will come back in my life at some point, but not today on the
Not
day that it releases."
No, you took that turn. You took that song and you twisted it. But look who swung on by. It's our pal Andy Header. Hi guys. I looked at the nasty cool premise, but wasn't too big on the art though. Oh, so we
Yeah.
probably both picked up the same comic and looked at the art and did the same thing.
I
So
haven't looked inside yet.
it's nice to know that I've stood where legends have stood.
To
But
hold a
yeah,
comic that Andy Header has held as well.
oh my goodness. I bet he's got like nice firm hands.
I
Like
can
I have like long alien like piano playing fingers. I wish I had like thick man fingers like I know you have.
what me?
Yeah, you
No,
anyways.
I got sausage fingers, man.
Yeah, that's what I want. I don't want these long guys. These are good for playing instruments, which is great. This is what I do. But I also want to feel like a man that can like grab things and
No,
just
but
twist.
like look at the proportion of like my palm to like my fingers. Like it's just
Mine are long. Anyways, what are we doing right
these
now?
might as well be cartoon hands. Like
Oh, speaking of cartoon hands, do you want to get into the ambassadors?
let's do it.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, what did you get out of this? I mean, did you know anything about it going into it, or
Nothing.
was it something? Yeah.
Did
What's
you?
I knew it was coming out. But I hadn't like asked my shop to pull it for me. They just had one extra copy, which
Right.
was nice.
So I guess the premise is that this is kind of set, I guess, at different times throughout history. It kind of jumps around. Um, uh, Andy just made a comment about his hands. The firmest. Did either of you see the Ric Flair comic one shot? He's a secret agent that does missions when he defends the world title in different towns. That's
Yeah.
I didn't know that there was a premise behind it. I thought it was just a Ric Flair thing.
That was one of the ones that if my shop had gotten it in, I was gonna get, but my shop
That's Scout Comics too.
That's Scout, yeah.
Yep. So
I'm
big week for Scout Comics, man. Let's pull them in. But okay. So the ambassadors, it's set like at different points throughout history, it seems, right? Am I correct in that?
Yeah.
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 So we kind of just get, I think it's like 4 different stories, 4 or 5 somewhere. You just meet different characters that have like superhuman abilities or kind of like mutants. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. Why are you looking puzzled?
Well, it's just like, yeah, like the first like supernatural or super powered being we come across in the ambassadors is like this child chimpanzee looking
It's like
character.
it's like a monkey human chimpanzee.
Looks like a hybrid of some sort. And like that's the introduction with that character is super, super cool. But then like we don't really get much from that character throughout the rest of this comic. And so
no.
Yeah, and so
but he had a very interesting personality. He was from Ireland or Scotland. One of the
two.
One of the two. And so he could talk and he has telekinetic powers, and I think he was smoking a cigarette, which is cool. It's always cool when monkeys smoke cigarettes.
He smashed like the Red Bull dispensing machine, and
yeah, that's true. He did. So he seemed like a good guy. He was just like out to like just drink Red Bull and smoke cigarettes, and I think that's
having a good
relatable
time on the
for
road.
a lot of Americans.
Yeah.
Who else did we meet?
Oh man, so like the main character.
Man.
the main character kind of comes around after this.
Do you
But
think this will be the main character?
well, you know, now that you bring that up, I'm not so sure. It's a doctor. I didn't write her name down for some reason.
Oh, that's fine. I didn't memorize her name either. She's some sort of Korean doctor. I can pull it up if you want to keep talking. I know where her panel's at.
But anyways, she like has, I don't know, the things that Steve Jobs used to do at Apple, and she's, you know, displaying the new iPhone, but like she's displaying that she herself has superpowers. And everybody's curious as to how she was able to do this because she's also in jail.
Right.
And she tells this story about how like her and her ex-husband were doing all this research on how to give humans superpowers, but he was in it for like the money of it, or like the profit of it. And she was in it to actually like for the ethics of it, like all the things good that could come from it.
Right.
And
so the only name that I'm Chun Hee Chung. That's her name. Dr. Chun Hee Chung.
Yeah. Yeah, sorry. I'm
Yeah.
yes. But yeah, so she also just kind of says like, you know, we're gonna have an ambassador for, is it each continent? And so like one of these ambassadors will be like the representative of Asia, the representative of Europe, of the Americas, of Australia. Like, well,
maybe it was
I don't
country. Was it country or continent?
Well, because it's only 6 people.
Oh, right.
Yeah. So, and so now it's just, she's made this announcement, and so there's going to be 5 other people to get these powers, and that's not necessarily where this issue ends. I really liked how this one ended.
Yeah,
because it gave you so much suspense for like kind of the villainy that's going to be behind all of it.
Oh, so do you think that was a villain?
Well, it kind of seems that way. It was suspicious.
Let's just say, I don't want to flip anything, but there's a man in a bar, and this thing. Here's what I'll say is, when I was reading this comic, I kind of forgot that it was Mark Miller because it didn't seem very Mark Miller-y. But then when it got to the end and the stuff that happened, I was like, oh yeah, this is Mark Miller. Like, this is very much his sense of writing and like what he thinks is cruel. But yeah. But I'm not saying that to be like I didn't enjoy it. It was because, you know, again, I love Kick-Ass, but I always go back to Kick-Ass, not, you know, Nightclub, or like, I guess I would have. I don't even know if I've ever read what else I've read from him.
I think kind of my Mark Miller thing to your Kick-Ass. Mine might be a little off. Mine's Jupiter's Legacy.
Okay, I mean, that's supposedly a really good comic. I've never read it, but I would be down.
Yeah, I mean, I got the first 5. I really enjoyed them when they came out, but after the 5th issue came out is when I put a pause on collecting, and then when I came back into it, there was like I don't know, in 2020 there was like Requiem, Jupiter's Legacy Requiem, I think. Like that series was just coming out. But yeah, no, I really enjoyed the initial series of it though. And what's cool about this one is that each issue is a different artist.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah, so this one was Frank Quitely. And I really enjoyed his art. It was very detailed, very thorough.
I wonder how that's going to translate. I wonder if that'll be jarring at all, because sometimes that can be a little jarring.
Well, I also wonder if it's too like, are the next issues going to be like, you know, you mentioned like, is this the main person, the Dr.
Chun Hee Chung? Dr. Chung.
Let's go Dr. Yeah, Chung. Well, just Dr. Chung. Yeah. Like when you said that, it made me think about that in terms of there being different artists for each issue. And I'm wondering, is each issue going to be told from the lens of one of the other 6? Because there's 6 issues. There's 6 people that can have superpowers.
Who knows? Because this wasn't really from one person's perspective. You know, I would argue that there's again, like I said, there's at least 5 stories in here. Because as I was looking through just now to find that name, I remembered another one and another one now that I'm thinking about it. So I think that he's trying to set up a world here in this thing and even if it's just a one-stop shop, like this one arc, I think he's trying to tell something. I don't want to say grand, but it seems like he's trying to like build something within this world.
Yeah. Something that'll last, and this is just like the introduction to it.
Yeah, I said, did I say it on this? Remind me if I did, but maybe I said it to I don't know. It feels like the boys and the Avengers are kind of crossing, is what it feels like a little bit.
Oh, with the ambassadors?
Yeah.
Yeah. It does seem like that, because there's a lot of like the government and capitalistic driven aspect to it.
Right.
Yeah.
So that's that.
Yeah. So I'm gonna stick with it. I really, really enjoyed it. Like I said, it got really good reviews as far as I could see.
There you go.
But yeah. Do you got anything else you want to say about the ambassadors #1?
Nope. I can. What's that? What do you say when you speak now and forever hold your peace? I'm holding my peace.
Hold your peace.
There you go.
Yeah.
Well, what shall we dive into next? Because actually, I know what we'll dive into next. We'll dive into a big slimy slug worm.
Oh yeah, you did get a different cover.
Yeah, I really enjoy this cover. I mean, I like your cover because I feel like it's more poignant to the story.
Yeah.
And I do like looking at it now. I'm like, that's really beautiful. Like that art is great. But for some reason, I went with this one.
Yeah, I just knew this was Star Wars, and it had to do with Return of the Jedi and Jabba's palace. I didn't really dig too much into what is this. I don't think I read like the publisher summary before I read it.
I definitely didn't.
But man, yeah, like what a fun twist on just a nugget from like an Easter egg, I guess. It's
like a reverse
Easter egg. Yeah.
Yeah. So to explain that, I went back and watched the Return of the Jedi
I turned that on while I read this. Like when I read the opening scene, which is I'm sure what you're about to mention, I was like, I'm turning this on right now.
So the opening scene is when in Return of the Jedi, when C-3PO. Why am I explaining Star Wars?
Yeah.
I feel like okay, but I feel like I'm like so scared that I'm gonna screw it up, and I'm gonna be like, CD.
No, you did it wrong.
Oh no, I ruined Star Wars for everybody. But okay, so in the opening scene, outside of there being a scroll, you see a scene from Return of the Jedi, and you are mostly focusing on that droid there, the blue guy. Does he have a name? I forgot it.
Yeah, it's ADM.
ADM. That's a good name. Yeah. But so it's just this droid that if you look in the background of the scene where C-3PO and R2-D2 are in Jabba's palace and they're told what jobs they're going to be doing for Jabba, in the background there's a droid being tortured, and it's being like pulled and stretched, and then it comes apart, and it's clearly just like some like empty pieces of metal that just got pulled apart, and then somebody put like fireworks behind it, but they make like a fun little scream. So
this is totally like the scene is very much just like a throwaway scene, like in the movie. Like it really has no significance other than showing that C-3PO is not the first protocol droid to work for Jabba, and yes, this is what happened to the last one who crossed him. And like it very much plays on, the old saying of Obi-Wan, but from a certain point of view. And like that's not what I was expecting going into this. I was thinking like this is going to be like on the inside of Jabba's palace, and like in a way as it was, but I was thinking more generally, and this is very specific to ADM's story. But yeah, so it's that droid that here's how it plays out. It's, good new acquisitions. You're a protocol droid, aren't you? And C-3PO is like, I'm C-3PO. It's like, yes or no will do. Well, yes. How many languages do you speak? I am fluent in over 6 million forms of communication and readily. Splendid. We have been without an interpreter since our master got angry with our last protocol droid and disintegrated him. Disintegrated. Whoa. And then he's like hanging. And he's like, and you hear like a noise.
Yeah. And he makes like a scream. He makes like an R2-D2 kind of like a woo, something like that.
Yeah, but like that's a scene that has always stood out in my memory of like the opening of Return of the Jedi. And so it is just taking a certain point of view from this droid who had 2 seconds of screen time.
Right.
We get to know why he ended up in this place.
Right. One of my favorite types of storytelling is just tragedies. One of my favorite movies is The Lighthouse, and if anyone has watched that and know how that goes, that's just the tragedy, you know? Because
Yeah.
I think sometimes we always, I'll speak for myself. I am so naive and optimistic sometimes, and I'm just like, life's just good. I mean, I have severe depression and like anxiety, but there is a part of me that's just like, life's okay. But I what I mean is that I believe that things will end well. You know, there's
Yeah.
a part of me that's like the spiritual part of me or whatever. It's just like we'll eventually be okay. So that's what kind of pushes me through all of that stuff that I have, because I know somewhere deep in my bones that it's like it'll be okay eventually. But sometimes along that way to eventually, things just go terrible. And you don't want to face that, but I think it's good to face those things, and you get a little Star Wars story along the way where you just see a little droid that just terrible, gets lied to, gets used, and then gets disintegrated. It's a great tale.
But
put it in a kid's book.
So but like I guess kind of another way for me to put it too is like I was thinking very generally about like how they were going to be doing this comic, and it's still, we got to see like deception, manipulation, and just ruthful like people, figures that just went in and out of Jabba's palace. But this story that it tells focuses around ADM and this character named Sylvan Khan.
Right.
And Sylvan Khan's kind of this
his name like literally has Khan in it, like he's a Khan artist.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah, right.
they just kind of put that in there, and like the whole time you can just tell he's just bad news.
Yeah, and I think he's a Twi'lek. It's what he looked like.
Yeah, I believe he was.
But yeah, it was somebody who was trying to rise up in the ranks, and I think he was also trying to take maybe Bib Fortuna's position, or like prestige in Jabba's eyes, and it doesn't work out for this guy either.
Nope.
So yeah, it is a tragedy story that focuses around a random droid that we had one scene with growing up, and then this other side character that we know I don't think we ever saw before, at least.
Right. And that's the cool thing about bringing those two things together, you know, like about like the cool things about Star Wars comics is that you have the ability to fill in these gaps like this, and also be like, oh yeah, and this guy was standing at the side, you just didn't see him because he was just gone, he wasn't here that day, you know. So I like it, but we've got
I was a big fan. I read, you know, and like if I've read reviews on the stuff I read this week, that just tells you how much like good reading I got in. And most people really enjoyed this. And there was like one review that I read where the guy was like, no, like if this was grade school, this is a C plus. Like that's how they do their grading. Like they don't give like a 8.7 or anything like that. But I feel like they kind of missed the point and expected too much of it. And then the other thing about this is a one shot for this story, I believe, but this is in celebration of the 40th anniversary of Return of the Jedi.
I'm pretty sure it's an anthology series.
Yeah, so there's Ewoks comes out next, and then one about Lando comes out, and then Emperor,
so it's like that.
Yeah, and then there's an Emperor Palpatine, a Stormtroopers, and Smugglers, and they'll all get put together in a volume down the road.
That's pretty dope.
But yeah, so it is all just stories. You know, if all the rest that are coming are like this, it's going to be some like kind of off story, either the led up to the events of Return of the Jedi, or events that happen during
like
Return
behind
of
the scenes.
Jedi. Yeah, so I'm excited to see where they all go. I don't know if I'm going to get all of them, but I'll probably at least try to get the Emperor Palpatine one.
Yeah.
So
okay. Yeah, I'm not sure either. I'm really glad that I jumped on this one, but yeah, we'll see. I can be persuaded.
Yeah. So it is. It's exciting to know we're going to be exploring like things that didn't really have much meaning at the time of first watching the movie, and those elements of the movie are going to be explored. So,
yep. Let's keep going because
let's
we got
keep
so many
going.
more comics to talk
We
about.
do. We got a lot to talk about today. You said you had one more that you wanted to talk with me about that you were going to surprise me with.
Yeah, and I was able to squeeze this in before we
Oh, you
started.
did?
Yeah, I got to
Wow.
squeeze in Granite State Punk.
Well, that was a good one to squeeze in before going live, man.
Well, I mean, that was the whole reason that I bought all this stuff, last week because we were, you brought it up, so I was like, hey, I'm gonna
well,
give this a
yeah.
go.
Well, it's like you said earlier in the show, like give me one shots. Like I'm really digging one shots lately. Really since we chatted with Hedrick and just kind of hearing his story and knowing more about the behind the scenes of him making his one shots and having read his one shots, but also realizing Scout puts out a lot of good one shots. Source Point Press puts out a lot of good one shots. And I haven't had many that I didn't enjoy. And this one, Granite State Punk, is for me another reason like why I would agree with you in saying give me one shots. Like this was a
one shots.
Perfect.
Give me one shots.
This was a perfect one shot.
Ooh, a perfect one shot.
Yeah.
I would have one small criticism, but outside of that, I would agree with you. I think what a one shot should set out to do, I think it did very well. I think that they did a very good job at introducing the character, introducing the world, having you feel for the character and have you feel for the world. Do you want to say the person's name because I forget it?
Yes.
There it is. It's literally the first line. Yeah, Zeke.
Yeah.
My name is Zeke.
Yes. So this follows a character named Zeke. Zeke is on house arrest, and he's forced to live at his childhood home, which his parents no longer live at because they passed away. And there's a lot about Zeke's early life that he doesn't remember. And he just does the same thing every day, which is kind of like, I don't know, kind of reminded me of like Groundhog Day a little bit. Like when they kind of paneled that out where he was just like doing the same thing every day, but he wasn't living in like this time warp bubble. This really was just, he woke up, he met with that gal, he went
Ember.
to the Ember, he went to the AA meeting that he didn't really seem to think he needed to go to. He just like, I think he wanted to like be among people.
He went because it was the only place he could leave to go to because he was on house arrest.
Yeah, so he wasn't really there for like the reasoning of why you should go there. It was just how he got out of the house. And so, yeah, so he just lived on repeat every day. And then Ember turns out to be this witch from an ancient occult.
Right.
Like that had settled.
When the Mayflower came over. So they were like this occult that was just hiding in the background of America,
and they had fled like the Salem witch trials, like had gotten away from that. And then this is also very centered around, which is apparently I honestly didn't know much about this because like I'm not from the Northeast, but the Old Man in the Mountain.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. That's up in New Hampshire, so that's a little bit more northeastern.
But that's where this takes place, is in
New Hampshire,
in Rochester, New Hampshire,
in the Granite State. I looked that up because I'm like, where's the Granite State? Oh, it's in New Hampshire. That makes sense because this comic's in New Hampshire.
Yeah, it's a Granite State Punk. But yeah, so it turns out that Zeke is tied to this occult as well, and a lot of what he doesn't remember starts coming back to him. And I don't know how would you put it? What kind is he, like a prodigy?
Well, I don't want to spoil too much about it.
Yeah.
Don't want to go into too many details about it. But I say we leave it there and just say he discovers some stuff about his past. Some things come back. My one small critique of it is that it feels like it very much like it writes itself into a corner, and then it's like a quick dialogue to explain that situation. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
And everything else was fine. That was just more of just something like, oh, you're kind of like, you're just mentioning this now to get you out of this situation that you're in. Does that make
Yeah.
sense?
Yeah. But like that was an aspect of the writing that I really liked, because it was this is Zeke is also breaking the fourth wall and like telling this story.
Right. And he
And
is kind of discovering, I mean, it's this weird overlap of he's telling this story, but he's also discovering this all at the same time.
you're right. Yeah.
Yeah.
But
And
anyways,
so
here's
like,
go on.
let me just say, yeah, that like I do understand that it is kind of like a lot of this is about stuff coming back to you and suppressing things. And so it's fair to say that things just pop up. There's even a time where he literally just touches a thing and has a memory that I believe can actually happen. So like that, I a little bit I was like, meh, but I
Well,
think
it's
in reality I'm fine with it.
yeah, but I mean, it's a really gritty comic, but it's also like it's an emotional story just
Hmm.
about Zeke dealing with loss and estrangement and like why he's at, he's always going off with Ember about like the government's like against him, the world's against him. It doesn't matter how many good days he has, like he always has more bad days.
Yeah.
And he does like kind of struggle with like the idea of his parents. And
Hmm.
there's snippets of the story about him like leaving his family. But
Yeah.
yeah,
And that relationship.
so he's very much trapped in this like dark, sad, depressing world. But he also has this belief that like there might still be more to live for. I don't know how to like put that, because he doesn't really give off that
No,
vibe,
I
but
wouldn't even
like,
say that. I think
yeah,
he's just full blown. I think maybe this might have revigored that spark within him because again, like the comics about being on repeat. So I'd
yeah,
imagine like something like what happens in this, especially because it's probably healing to some degree. I think it's enough to knock him out of that rut, you
yeah.
know.
Well, and Travis
Especially
Gibb,
because I just
yeah,
not to spoil anything, but he remembers who he is. Let's just say that.
yeah. But this is also, so this is from Travis Gibb, and it's semi like kind of autobiographical for him. Like he'd also like lost his parents, I believe.
I I just realized this. He subscribed to us today. So if you're
Oh,
listening, hi pal. We would love to
yeah.
have you on at some time.
But yeah, he had a press release on Kickstarter before this came out, and he just kind of gave his little blurb about it. And uh, it seems like he put a lot of passion into it himself. Like this was just a
Hmm.
story that uh, it just has, like he said, had a strong fictional history, like in his hometown and the landmark of the Old Man in the Mountain. And yeah, it's just a reflection for him about like his parents' death and how angry he was like growing up with that as a child. And
Hmm.
like you feel that in the comic. And
Yeah.
he did make it a very personal comic. And so it's just like, thank you for sharing your story, but also thank you for sharing your story.
Right.
So
Yeah. And just to wrap it up, I will say the most truth spoken in this comic is in this panel right here, which, in case you can't read it, it says PBR is the best beer for a punk show, and that's 100% true.
100% true.
So, all right, buddy. Uh, do you mind if I go off about? I think we need to start doing a banger of the week section. Maybe after we do our group reviews or something like that. I really like the idea of a banger of the week.
Okay.
My so introducing our new section, banger of the week. That's the banner going across. Why are you laughing so hard at banger of the week?
I just bang like I don't know, banger just sounds really funny to me.
I hardly know her, but uh
This is
this
your
is a
banger of
comic.
the week.
This is my banger of the week. Everything sucks. Real gamer hours. This was again. So this was it's not a one shot. There's going to be issue number 2, but it seems like the second issue is going to be telling a different story, right? So we've talked about this before. Issue number 1 of the Avengers and issue number 2 of the Avengers and issue number 3, they all told different stories. They were
Mhm.
like, this is the Avengers versus Loki. This is the Avengers versus Kang. Like, and Spider-Man was the same way. And I really, really hope that comic goes back in that direction because I feel like that's what this is doing. I feel like that's what is doing is just building a cool character and then throwing them into just one-shot situations. I think that is so cool. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe issue number 2 will connect directly into this. But either way, I'm just throwing that out there into the universe. I think that's a great way for comics to go. But I just had so much fun.
I like it. I like that idea.
I just had so much fun with this comic because it's relatable. It's just a guy who sits around, smokes cigarettes, and plays video games. And
is he a shark?
No, I don't think it's a shark. I think it's like a bird. It has a beak. Oh, it's a beanie that you're seeing. He's wearing a beanie.
Oh, it's really small on the screen, so I can't.
Well,
and
that's
I have
what she
eyes.
said. But hey, we're gonna keep going. Yeah, and so what I thought was the coolest thing about this story was it's about Noah and his friends playing this video game, and as Noah is explaining the video game, it's like switches between him talking about it to going into the game and explaining what he does, and then it like jumps back out, and then as their friends join, it kind of continues to happen of just jumping back and forth between that world, which I think is such a great artistic expression of what it feels like to sit around gaming with your friends, because you are submerged in that world, but you're also in this world together. But a big the heartbeat behind this comic is this idea of just wasting away in front of your video games, just sitting there for days, for weeks, and the conflict that kind of comes with that, because you're like, I did this really cool thing, I accomplished so much, but I also haven't left my house in a week, so like just that weird confliction within you, but you also have like these deep, like very like personal and experiences. Video games are weird.
Yeah, well, it's funny that you like mentioned that, because it's just like time is so much different in a video game setting, and it's like you said, like I remember back in the day, like I was obsessed with like the Final Fantasy games. I think the last one I played was like 12 or 13, but like I had played them since the PlayStation days, from 7 on, and just how many hours you actually spent like in real time on those games, but like the amount of time that it goes on in the game is completely different. And you can have this like hyped up sense of like, I accomplished so much playing this game for like 2 hours today in real time. And it does feel like an achievement. And then your parents are like, well, like you're not really achieving anything by sitting on your butt and playing video games all day. But like you are when you're doing it like with your friends and like with a purpose. It's just it's escaping from like the realities of actually having to deal with life.
Right. Yeah. And there's times where that's a good thing, and it's a time where that can be abused, so it's like anything, it just deserves balance.
Yeah. So, I believe South Park did an episode on that.
Classic. Yeah, that's like every South Park episode. But anyways, you handsome son of a pal. But what comics do you got for me?
Well, I got 2 more that I wanted to talk about before we finish up here today. One of them being, I guess I'll go with it first, is Bloodstained Teeth is done.
Woo.
Issue
It's
10
done?
was it was the final issue.
Oh my goodness.
This story of Atticus Sloan is wrapped up. Couple things I want to say is that like the gold star for the creators that worked on this project definitely goes to Heather Moore. Not to diminish anything else that the other creators on this comic did, but like she was the colorist, and I mean, where's mine at?
Yeah, that's what I've always noticed about the covers, is just how much the art.
Well, in this one,
pops.
I kind of wish that I had gotten the variant, because the variant was a lot more colorful, but like you just see with this one, like just how much different color variation there is, and it is all very poppy and vibrant, but it's also set against dark lines and shadows, and it's a vampire story.
You love your vampire stories.
I love my vampire stories, and honestly, like anybody who likes vampire stories, like this should be on your reading list. Like if you haven't read it, you like vampire stories, because it does take like a classic trope and kind of add to it.
Yeah.
And just kind of it's vampires thought of in a new way. There is a lot of just action throughout the series. The dialogue, honestly, like was the downfall for me for most of the series, but now having wrapped it up, it all like makes sense. And it's like so Christian Ward's the writer of this. He clearly had a plan when he mapped out this series of what he was trying to do with Atticus Sloan, what he was trying, because like Atticus Sloan is not the protagonist that you're rooting for. Like you're not like excited about what's going on in his life because he's a sleazeball, he's a jerk, he's self-obsessed. But throughout the series, he has the ghost of his best friend who was a sip that he turned. A sip is so there's firstborn vampires and there's sips, and sips are the ones that have been turned by a firstborn.
Gotcha.
And he was kind of his you know, his Jiminy Cricket, like throughout this series. But you don't really like, but like the thing is that like it was all in his head the whole time. Like this thing about Joey telling him to be a better person and like care more about people was really just Atticus Sloan having a conversation with himself. And like another thing that they laced in throughout the series was something that like if you're not paying attention and if you hadn't been paying attention, you read the last episode, you're like, oh, that's what he loves about humanity. That's the thing about humans that like Atticus Sloan as a vampire like struggles to like, you know, want to be the classic vampire. And all I had to do is just this one character that you saw glimpses of throughout the rest of the series. And then like, so with all that said and done, the writing overall is just outstanding. And this series is
there you go. Siri jumped in and had some thoughts about things.
I said series, not Siri.
Oh, you silly son of a gun.
But yeah, no. So overall, I really, really enjoyed this. So yeah, it was Christian Ward. Patrick Reynolds was the artist. There was a guest artist on issue 6, which introduced kind of the main arc for the second volume. And yeah, Heather Moore did the colors, and then the best. This is what's been ascribed to this person, but the best letterer in the game, Hassan Atsmain Allahu. His letterist, Lahu, yeah. And his, again, if you want to know what good lettering looks like, just read anything that has his name on it. He's somebody who's popped up, and he's really helped me understand what it means and what it takes to be like a letterist for a comic, which is like the unsung heroes of comic creators.
Right. I feel like I haven't gotten one with their name on it in a long time, so I need to find something.
Yeah.
But hey. I got a couple more. We can keep going. I don't got anywhere to be real quick.
Yeah, well, I think we got a little extra time today. We think we'll be all right.
Alrighty, cool. There you go, everybody watching and everybody listening. You're getting a little bit longer of an episode. And that's because I get to talk about Indigo children. Yeah. So this was, like you said earlier in the episode, like this was definitely seemed to be like one of the big ones for this week of yeah.
And again, for me, it was just like I said, like it wasn't something I asked my shop to get in, so I wasn't expecting to get it, but I was hoping, yes, hopefully my shop does have it in so I can get a copy. And
this is going to be the craziest thing that's ever happened. Guess who does the letters for this?
Yeah. There you go.
Hussein Atman Allahu. Wow. Boy, I am like notorious for putting my foot in my mouth on this podcast. So I guess I have read something recently by him. Wow, I feel terrible that I didn't know. So
I mean, do you track your stuff in our secret source?
No, I don't track it. No. I should, but I don't. We'll talk about that off camera because I have a hard time understanding it. But yeah. I went back and I read this comic twice because the first time I read it through, I honestly wasn't like super thrilled about it. It wasn't like it. There's just a section in the middle that I feel like the characters are kind of very, I don't want to say lifeless, but that's the only word that I can think of. Just like they're just sitting there kind of talking, and it's supposed to be like very like the dialogue kind of suggests that they're more animated than like how they look or even like how they're reacting to the situation at hand. Like they're very calm and very docile for like something that's kind of bizarre, like beyond just kind of like weird. But basically we're just the Indigo children, I believe, are the old inhabitants of Mars reincarnated as children who have super abilities, and not just super abilities but like limitless possibilities. And that's kind of one of the things that's discussed in that dialogue section of just like what is the uttermost limits of this thing. And the guy's like, I don't think there is any. So we follow a detective who's kind of trying, or not a detective, a journalist who's trying to put this story together. It brings him to Russia as he talks to that guy who studied these children. And this is a time jump forward, so you kind of see like different points in time. But yeah, I hate to say that I didn't enjoy it as much as I thought I would, and I even read it twice. But even just sitting here now, I'm like, I'm probably not going to get issue 2. I didn't enjoy. I thought I would enjoy this more than the Ambassadors, and I enjoyed the Ambassadors more. But yeah,
Well,
I'm glad that I attempted it.
I am wondering. So did we clarify whether or not you posted about this
comic?
Yeah.
No, we didn't clarify, but I can go check real quick.
I think then maybe it's in our messages. I had a feeling that you didn't like this.
No, I didn't post about it. So
I don't know where I'm getting that from then, but
look at that. You're just getting vibes from the universe, baby.
Yeah.
Where our brains are syncing up.
But
we can
yeah,
feel
if I'm gonna wait and see what the rest of our pals have to say about it. I think if it's recommended by the end of the first volume, I'll probably pick up the trade paperback for it. But
I actually realized that we have 2 more comics that we both read that we didn't talk about.
What's that?
I'll throw them both up. Local Man #2 and Darkland #4.
Right. Yeah, I was waiting for Darkland because it came out a couple weeks ago and you didn't get yours quite yet.
I got mine a week late.
Yeah. Yeah, what you want to talk? Well, let me say this because I got one more that I wanted to mention, but
that's right. Yeah, go ahead. You talk about that, and then we'll get into these other things.
Yeah, so another one wrapped up for me this last week, and that was Gotham City Year 1, Issue 6, which kind of just was this story about the turning point of the glamorous city of Gotham to the Gotham as we understand it because of just knowing Batman and the Gotham City that he lives in.
Right.
And it was just this, it was a pretty classic, like private eye, like pulp noir, like story. It's told from the perspective of Slam Bradley, who is, if you go back to the early days of Detective Comics, like the first issue has to do with, at least he's in it. Like that's his first appearance. His first appearance is before Batman's, like, so I think Batman's first appearance is in like issue 26 or 27 of Detective Comics.
Okay.
So, but yeah, so this is a character that has like a lot of history, but it hasn't really like been talked about a lot over the course of all of DC's like rich history. Yeah. And so it was cool to kind of get a story of his and then having it tie into Batman modernly. I really enjoyed it. I know Ray was reading it as well, and he really liked it. So yeah, if you're looking for a good DC trade to pick up soon, like this might not be a bad idea, or even just waiting for it. Like if it comes available to read, we'll put it that way. Like I really enjoyed it. It was a great story. Tom King wrote it, and he's had his hand pretty heavy in the world of Batman for the last few years. So yeah,
he's the Batman King.
The Batman King.
Well,
the Batman Tom King.
You ready for my review of both of these comics?
Let's hear it.
I enjoyed them. Good night. Yeah, I mean, I really don't have much to say about either of them. My comic book guy fully just spoiled the ending of Local Man #2 for me when I was buying it last week. He just told me, and I'm like, oh, okay. I just know that now.
Yeah.
But I mean, it didn't really do anything for me. I'll definitely think I'll stay on again both of them, but I mean, issue number 4, we're getting towards the end, so I would
Yeah.
imagine that we're going to see some stuff soon. But this feels like it could be ongoing. I'm talking about Darkland.
Yeah. No, like Darkland does seem like it's got to be more than 5 issues.
Yo, 100%.
So, because like like it this last issue, like I didn't hate it, but it was also like give us something to chew on.
Yeah.
And I don't know, it was a number 4 that kind of fell short for me, but I've liked issues 1, 2, and 3. So
that's why I say you cap it off at 4, because 4 is usually where you hit that lull. 4,
yeah,
like, and it's just, I get it, but yeah, and there is like the story is still being told, but it is. I feel like a lot of this story could have been told more condensedly.
yeah. And if you had more to tell, well, then just do another 4-issue arc and make it 2 arcs.
Oh.
I mean, you'd have to have a good selling first arc, obviously, but
right. And I think that that's the problem, is people usually have a lot of story that they want to try to put into things, and that's, again, understandable, you know. So I think you and I are partial to the shorter kind of, you know, more bombastic way of consuming it.
It's also like when we talked with was it Chance that we talked about the number of issues with?
Yeah.
And just how he said, like, sometimes you just don't really know like how many issues to put into a story. And
Yeah.
so I think my thing is now it's like I do love 4-issue arcs because they are short and they give you a lot in so little. But I also want the story to be told well.
Yeah.
And it's not that Darkland isn't being told well, but it just feels like it's kind of reaching in issue 4. And I feel like a lot of it could have just been skipped and like added in, or could have been capped off at the end of this one.
I think my favorite comic writing is when you pick up the context about what's happening through just bits of dialogue, and you don't have to have kind of what this store issue was, where it's just a lot of like what's happening right now, you know?
Yeah.
Just dialogue back and forth of explaining the situation. So it's like, again, but I'm literally like, I'm not a comic book writer, so like I don't want to say like I could do better, but that's just for me, like how it works, what rocks my comic book socks.
Yeah.
But yeah, do you have anything to say about Local Man?
Yeah, I really like Local Man. I'm definitely sticking with it. I just really like this premise of, because again, we kind of have seems like kind of like a boys Avengers scenario going on with Crossjack.
Yep,
is
his
superhero name. He's been kicked out of 3rd Gen or whatever they are, and they're like the big hero group, and and we don't know a whole lot about like why he was kicked out, but he's also just not allowed to help police in solving crimes. Like he can't do anything. They've stripped all of his like rights away, and so like I really like this premise of just that, and following him through this struggle of like, well, here I am back in my podunk town. I was once this big famous hero, a part of the most famous superhero team in the world, and now here I am turned to nothing.
Lower than low. Well, so some, like, I will say, now that I'm thinking about it, like some stuff does happen in this issue. His arch nemesis dies, and he gets accused of doing it, because they're like, well, obviously, like, you would be the guy to do it. But yeah, I don't want to kind of spoil where the ending goes, but it's gonna be going somewhere. I would imagine he's out to try to figure out what happened.
I just know that by the end of this one, you're very excited for issue 3 to come out.
I agree.
I thought it ended really well. It was, the whole story overall was just, it was a good thing to piggyback off of issue 1. Like the events of issue 1 had to play with the beginning of issue 2. So it was a good transition to keep you into the story that's being told. So I'm looking forward to issue 3. It's probably on my top 3 number 3s I'm looking forward to. That's my new bit.
I was gonna say, what was your banger for the week?
My banger for the week?
Oh no, he's got to think about it. Which was not what? Look at him. No, he's looking at him.
I think it was Granite State Punk for sure.
Yeah. I mean, that was probably.
I was very excited about that when I finished reading it. Because again, just going back to like, length of story, as long as the story is told well, and like that's what a good one shot does, is just lays out a really good story that doesn't need to be told in more than one average size comic book.
Right.
It's just in one shot. And I already like removed all of my notes from this.
No, you're good. You don't have to go back to it. We talked about a bunch. I was just curious because we're trying to start this new segment and you didn't say it outright, so I just wanted to
I'm so sorry that I didn't catch on to the banger of the week. But yeah, Granite State Punk was my banger of the week. But it's punk rock. It has to do with witchcraft, and it really was just a hell of a good read. I had a great time. I really enjoyed it. Travis Gibb, good work, and to his team that helped him put it together, excellent work.
I also know that I put this in the description. I talked about Miracle Kingdom. I also read. I wrote a. Look at that!
Banger of the week.
So Andy Henner said, "Keep banger of the week." I like it. I agree. I wrote a post about Miracle Kingdom. I really like the premise, but the art wasn't really doing it for me, and I'm probably not going to stick on it, unfortunately. Especially because I feel like I'm reading everything else Scout Comics is currently producing.
You're having real long Sundays.
That's fine with me. Oh wait, no, this Sunday's the one where the Lord comes back. So I'm gonna be busy going to families. So my Scout Comics Sunday is gonna be very early in the morning while my lovely partner is getting all dolled up.
Right on.
But hey, man, you ready to kick this horse in the groin?
Kick this horse in the groin. But first, I want to ask, what are you looking for? What are you looking forward to next week?
Recovering from the horse kick that I would imagine that I would get back from doing such a thing. Well, I would never hurt an animal. I'm a vegetarian. But I just love this poor horse that we just keep dragging along on our podcast.
Well, something that comes out next week. I think we've all been looking forward to.
I like that you answered your own question. It's just covered.
Well, I'm just wondering if it's on your radar.
I have no idea what's coming out next week. I don't really follow that until like the day or two before, mostly just to get ready for this, because I'm totally fine with just showing up at the comic shop and just being like, just surprise me.
All right. Well, I'll tell you now. I got quite the list. If this all stays current and the days don't move, but 8 Billion Genies comes out, issue 8. Little Monsters 12, which I also think might be the last issue.
Probably.
Don't quote me on that, because I think I've said that about the last several Little Monsters, because the number keeps going up on this secret source. Red Winter Fallout number 4 comes out next week, which I also think is a finale. And supposedly the next Star Wars Return of the Jedi 40th anniversary thing comes out, and that's the Ewoks one. Like I said, don't know if I'm going to get it, but we'll see.
We will see. All right, you want to again kick the horse.
Let's kick this horse in the groin twice.
The poor thing, it doesn't deserve it at all. What are we doing to Badger? We named our horse Badger.
Well, give a shout out to our friend over at ABJ. Thank you, Anthony, for letting us use your platform. Check out Anthony's. He's a podcast. He's streams. He does it all. And
he's a renaissance man.
He's a renaissance man of content. So yeah, I'll just repeat. We'll be like Timmy and Tommy from The Sandlot. You can find us.
I'll be Tommy.
Okay. You can find us on Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, Twitter, Twitch, and YouTube. You can find me on Instagram at that. You're that monk guy. You can find Monk at that at that monk guy, and you can find me at Mad Nerdy. And I will also still struggle to speak the words I need to say. So if you are listening, watching, wherever you are, please like, subscribe, comments. We love chatting. We love the engagement, and yeah, the likes really help us out. So
yeah, and I would, let us know what like kind of content you would like from us. If you want more just reels on Facebook or on Instagram and TikTok, if you want whatever, we're here for you. So if you want to see some stuff, or you think it'd be cool if we did something, let us know. because we're open or whatever. And you know what they say, Mark?
What is that?
I haven't bought this many comic in, I'm like all tuckered out. I can barely do this outro in years. Good night.
Bye.